All right, welcome to the Rideshare Chaos podcast. We are here to continue to pick apart rideshare in the gloriousness that it can be. Hopefully it is, but sometimes it's not. So I know we did the pilot. So I did a couple shorts. And so we actually got on YouTube Shorts, we actually had a one of the videos that had 111 views.
Whoa,
Now, for out the gate,
in
we
there.
actually so we're up to 4 followers now or subscribers.
Whoa,
So, I mean, it went
that's cool.
from you to 3 more. So,
Yeah, I was a
um,
follower.
so essentially 3.
I
But, I
followed
mean,
us
you know what, though? I mean, but out the gate, I mean, I'll take it. Posted on TikTok,
day
got
one.
some decent views. But I
There you
mean,
go.
pilot episode, I mean, I hope people are, are intrigued to hear, but from the person in the front seat.
Yes.
Because we hear things different than you do. Okay. Now by hear things differently, I mean, so have you ever had someone like a big group of girls, right? Like
Yeah.
drunk or sober.
Sure, sure,
And
sure.
so you have these girls in back that are just annoying, that are, like, talking way too loud, and then, like, the person up front's like, "Girls, shut the hell up, you're so loud," and you're like, "Welcome to my world. Now you
Yes.
know now you know what I have to deal with," because especially getting out of the club, they're already been listening to loud music. They're trying to talk through the loud music. And so yeah, I mean, have you ever had a situation like that where like the person in front's like, "Oh my gosh, you guys are so loud."
Yes, yes, exactly. Yeah, that happens. That is a common you're trying to I had one last week. There were 4 people, so, my car can, uh hold that many people. But someone's got to sit in the front. So someone's sitting in the front. And we're kind of carrying on a conversation while people in the back are like having conversation. And
Oh
then
yeah, all the
it got
time.
to a really, really quiet, awkward moment. And then the front guy goes really loud because everybody in the back was like, "So what else do you do? Beside driving Uber?" And so all the girls in the back were just mocking him, like, go come up with such creative questions, so it was like a very awkward moment for this guy
But
who
like the
was
thing
getting
is but everyone asked the same like let's
everyone
say
asked the
let's
same
say the
question.
baseline 5 questions
Yes.
of how long you been doing it,
How long?
how do you
Which says
like
in the
it,
app already, right.
what's your worst story?
Yes.
Have you ever had anybody puke? Or
Yes.
what about wear and tear? And I honestly
Yeah.
loathe when someone says wear and tear on your car, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"What? Using it?" Like, meanwhile, you go work in your factories and you bust your back for less money than I make more money than you by a long shot, by the average, and guess what? My back, I mean, it hurts, but guess what? It's not factory hurt.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like for those wear and tear enthusiasts that want to talk
Yeah.
about that, well, I'm gonna ask in 10 years, how is your back from busting your back in a factory?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you how comfortable it is with my seat warmer in my seat cooler on my front seat, okay?
Yeah.
Because I could care less about wear and tear. And the thing is that the problem is that the more you drive, the more idiots you find. And like
Yeah, that is so true.
I've legitimately had I can't even make this up, but let's see by the average, like almost every 2 years I'm getting a new car.
Mhm.
Like
Sure.
my first car was a Cobalt, but that was headed for some other issues that weren't related to wear and tear. And back in the day, I don't know if you remember Ann Street Auto,
Mhm. Well,
right there,
yep,
literally
yep,
on
yep,
Ann
yep.
and Alpine. And so you could buy out of your contract and get into another car. And so that's what I did. And I had a Ford Fusion that I had for 9 whopping months, okay? In some ass or a hole in the ground, just blows through a stop sign.
Nice.
There's that car totaled. Then
And
the
there you go.
I had a glorious Ford Fiesta. Great on gas mileage, not great for big people sitting in my car. But
Sure.
I
Yes.
survived 2 years with that thing, and then some idiot blew through a blinking yellow. Hey, it's called yield, and it's blinking at,
Nice.
and he didn't yield, and I smashed the back up. I went full force into the back of his car, totaled that car out, and then
Wow.
last March, and I completed the trifecta, I like to call it, of stupid drivers. So the first guy, stop sign. Next guy, blinking yellow. And
Uh-huh.
in last March, red light.
Ah,
So and so I have, so I've had new cars not by wear and tear, but stupid drivers. But the more
yeah,
you drive, the more stupid you find.
that's true. That's true. I mean, that's just a numbers game at that point, right? You know, just
You know,
how many people you drive, how many
you
you
know,
drive. So
but that's what gap coverage is for. So
yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
so never nothing wear and tear, just finding dumb. That's my
Finding
excuse.
them.
That's my excuse
There you go.
for you know what though? But I like getting a new car every 2 years. I tend to upgrade 2 years.
Well, that's nice. That's a great. I
So
I kind of now hope I get into a little bit of a fender bender,
right.
because I've been worried about that. Because yeah, I put 50,000 miles on my car in the last 2 years. So yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of
Yeah. I mean,
lot of miles.
I think I put about 38. We'll call it 30 like last year.
Oh,
But that's regular driving plus, everything
mm,
else in between. So I mean, it's it's not that bad. And honestly,
yeah.
I've had my Equinox for it'll be a year next month, and I've only replaced the back brakes and rotors.
Wow.
So, but
All I've repa Yeah, I've put, since I got, because I'm driving a Tesla Model Y, and that, there's just not like brakes. There's no brake issues there because it
mm,
uses magnetic brakes, basically to regenerate electricity when it slows down. So it rarely actually uses technically brake pads. So brake pads are good, and all of the traditional brakes. Tires, it goes through a little bit of tires. So I put a set of tires on it, and I need to rotate them because I can kind of hear a little road noise. But yeah, there's not a lot of maintenance, on the electric cars. That's one of the big, because there's no radiator fluid or there's no
right.
oil changes.
It's it's
I
just
mean,
it's just the looming fixing a battery.
well, like what you're kind of giving me hope here. Like maybe I'll just get in an accident
I
and
mean, you know
pull the
what?
car out and I'll just get another one.
Exactly. You're like, my battery's flickering. All right, better just go crash into someone.
Yeah, that's kind of
Not that I
yeah,
condone being disingenuous for an
yeah,
accident, but but like, but I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
it's I got like a 201k, like it's every 2 years.
So that's kind of a little bit of it's kind of a let's say urban legend with the Teslas and the batteries. Like you're not replacing the battery very often. It's not a common thing.
Yeah.
Like once you reach 150,000, oh, you're replacing the battery, or it's down so low that it's not like that. The battery's warranted to 120,000 miles. So I
Yeah.
still have a long way, well,
Right.
20,000 ish miles to go. So next year, it'll be out of warranty. And even
Luck
if I had to replace the battery, it's not like it used to be like 15 grand, and now
Right.
it's only like 10. If you had to replace it, it's
Yeah.
around 10 because of the used cars and all of that stuff. But at that point, I mean, I just replaced the engine in a Volvo, and it cost me 10 grand. So, and that
Well, it's
that
a
car only
butter
had
new
100
Volvo.
150,000 miles on it. Yeah, exactly. It's like, we could buy a new Volvo. Couldn't we just buy a whole
Yeah, you could buy a
leather
nicer
Volvo?
Volvo.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
like the thing is, but like that's just the risk you take as far as
yeah.
doing, rideshare, and like the fact that
Oh,
you're
yeah,
going to put more miles, and that's just the reality.
yeah.
But my miles make money though, and so like
Yes, exactly.
I would
Piece of
say
equipment.
I made let's ballpark it at about, I think take home from Uber, I made about 37, right?
Mhm.
And so again, if I essentially let's say probably I think it was like 25 or 27 something
Mhm.
thousand miles. So like I'm making more than $1 a mile average. And that's the best case scenario for
Yeah.
rideshare. And like if you're making $1 a mile, you're doing good. If you're not, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. So I know we had talked last week or 2 weeks ago in this advantage mode.
Oh,
Now
yeah.
now I
Oh,
so
man.
I peeked my way into it,
Uh-huh.
and I was getting a whopping 5%, okay?
Yes.
And when I looked at my overall for the week, it was a whopping $22. Now,
Well, $22
I know
more.
you're turning
Yeah.
that higher acceptance rate. I can't
Yes.
do that, but,
It's the advantage mode. Yes,
yeah,
that's
so,
the
I
thing
mean,
with it.
does it give
Uh-huh.
you a bigger chunk when you have your higher acceptance rate? Because I know
No,
you are working
it doesn't. And that's the
so
thing. So
so
it doesn't.
5%.
No,
So it
it's more for guys that drive like you drive, where you have a lower acceptance rate, and you're a lot more picky with your ride. So every ride individually is profitable. My strategy is a little different. I'm using my not only cash, which is great, the extra cash flow and the dark deduction and all that, but it's also I'm using it for tuition. So for
Sure.
tuition, you have to you have to be gold, at least gold, platinum, or diamond to do the tuition, and that itself to me next year will be worth 30
Right.
grand. So
Yeah.
that part there, so that is they're kind of dinging you for the higher acceptance rate. So yeah, I have to maintain like a 90 or an 85%, I think.
Yeah, I think it's
I don't know
85 is
what
usually the pretty
something
standard.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
85%. So this
I've
the advantage mode definitely, like you said, you may just slip into it. Because I think the acceptance rate's only like 25% or something like that to keep
Yeah, I mean,
stay in there.
and I basically hovered around that. I think,
Yeah.
let me see here. So last week, but again, last week I didn't drive as much.
Mhm.
I only drove 20 hours, so Advantage mode got me an extra dollar an hour, roughly. We'll call it.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah, I mean, you're
and
yeah,
if you look at it from that perspective, like an
yeah.
extra dollar an hour, that's not a
Hey,
ton, but
it's
that's
not a
also
ton.
extra money. I
It's
mean,
25,
that's
$30 a week.
I mean, so that's,
Yep.
that's a half gallon tank of gas I'm getting extra.
Yeah,
So,
there you go.
and I really
Hey,
only go through about 2.5 gallons of gas a week because like when I
tank,
so
2.5 tanks, right?
yeah, yeah, gas.
Not gallons.
Whoa, what a fuel efficient car.
Oh, that's very yeah, I didn't
You
realize your
driving a
truck was
Prius
that good.
hybrid?
Yeah,
Um,
'cause I didn't realize that was that good. I knew it was good.
but no, and so, like, because what I do is that so, like, when I hit Saturday and I usually whatever I have left on Friday, I won't fill up until I
Mhm.
really need it on Saturday, and then I'll drive the whole night on probably half a tank, less than half a tank, and then I don't have to fill up
Mm.
until Wednesday.
Wow.
And so I go those 4 days without even ever having to because I'm only going to and from work.
Sure.
So but then it's like so then I'll fill up Wednesday, I'll be good for so really Wednesday,
Mhm.
Thursday, I'm good on 1 tank,
Mhm.
and then Friday, and then, like I said, Saturday, roughly, 9, 10 o'clock at night, I'll fill up. So, I mean, honestly, the way I've been doing it with the being pickier on rides
Sure.
benefits me as far as, like, more direct now versus your stuff you're wait for it later. Um, yeah, and so 2.5, I mean, that's and while the gas prices are going down sorta, kinda,
Yeah.
I've seen it cheaper up north. I've seen it into the
Mhm.
280, 270 up
Mhm.
north. Now it's still pretty hovering around $3, which, you
Sure.
know what, it's better than going up, okay? 'Cause,
You're not driving premium. Your car doesn't take premium, does it?
No,
Nope.
so
No.
so mine's just taking regular. But yeah.
Regular.
So so do you
Just
have
regular.
so do you have any like nonsense that's happened in the last 2 weeks? I'll start. I have one
Yeah.
specifically. Now, in my again, over
I'm curious.
26,000
I'm curious.
over 26,000 rides, okay?
Okay.
I've only kicked out I've only had rides end early outside it with the exception of
Oh,
pukes. I've
sure.
I've only kicked out probably less than a hand, less than 5
Sure.
people.
Sure.
Now, I think I'm probably in the realm of like 3 like, with the exception of recently. I think it was last week, and I'm gonna just give you the unedited version of this whole situation, but,
Okay.
like, the lady gets in the car, and she's, like, talking all this weird stuff, and then she's, like, asking about, like, my siblings, and she's reading my vibe and my whatever else, and
Uh-oh.
and
Uh-oh.
and so and then somehow it drifts to politics,
Oh,
and then she's, like, asking me who I voted for, and I said, "I don't talk about politics." He's like, "Oh, you're probably a Trump supporter, blah, blah.
yeah.
You should go hang yourself."
Sure.
And like even I let that slide. But the nail in the coffin, the straw that broke the camel's back is when she said, "Don't R me." Okay, I won't even say the word. Let's
Uh-huh.
and she's like, "And I don't like you
Oh,
now. I'm gonna one-star you." So I pulled over a half mile from her
from the spot.
destination,
Yeah.
and I said, "I'm not gonna edit this part." I said, "You can take your one-star ass and get the fuck out of my car." And you know what? And then I drove beside her just to piss her off. Like, because I'm
Oh,
sorry,
no.
like, I barely ever rate anybody negatively, and
Sure.
what I
Yeah.
don't like that Uber does is that we have to rate every rider versus them rating us every time automatically.
Mhm.
Because, like, ratings are like a dime a like, every, like,
Right.
100 people, it feels like you actually get a rating on, or they say they're gonna rate you and they don't rate you, and it's like, how do you gauge consistent service quality
Sure.
by not having them rate us?
Yeah, 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 you only get the bad typically then at that, so you're
Oh,
getting
yeah,
the
you get the, "Oh,
yeah.
you were talking too much," or not safe driving or speeding or any of these nonsense. And I'm like, for one, if I was doing any of the things you're saying I
Sure,
was quote unquote doing, I'd be
sure.
pulled over by a cop, okay?
Right,
Like,
exactly.
and like it's just nonsense. People complain about anything they want to somehow get like a free ride or a discount. It's like, you discount mongers. Like,
Yeah,
this is my livelihood. Don't be a dick. Like, I'm not rude to you, so
yeah,
don't, you know, be that way to me. I
yeah.
mean,
Yep.
so
Yeah, that's no fun. That's no fun. No
it's
fun at
not
all.
fun. It's not fun
Not
when
fun.
like you're trying to put my livelihood at risk just because you want to save a couple nickels. But
Yes.
so what do you got? What
So, yeah, I had one, last week that was I had a couple ones where you're just like, "What? What
oh,
is
bring it on.
going on?"
Bring it on.
So, I had a Grand Rapids to Hudsonville, one. So that's a long, that's a half an hour. You're gonna be
Oh
in the
yeah.
car with
Oh yeah.
so we're downtown, we get the dude gets in the car, and then he's like, I'm waiting for her. And it's like Alicia or whatever. So we're down in East Town and finally get the both of them in the car. And we've already waited like 10 minutes for her. So she was in the bar still chatting up, whatever, doing whatever. And
Doing female
so,
things.
yes, yes, exactly. I just kind of had a little joke. I'm like, while we were waiting, he's just like, I'm so embarrassed. I'm sorry. We're just waiting for her. And I'm like, dude, I've been married for 30 years. Half your life as a husband will be waiting for your wife. That's just, you just wait. That's just part of the deal. You're just always waiting. You're in the car waiting. This is what I do.
Hurry up
I'll
and
be in the
wait.
car, honey. That's the thing. So, and it's okay. That's okay. There's other stuff that happens in her world that I'm not aware of. And so
Right.
we just, anyway, so we get in the car and then she starts, in on him arguing about, let me see your phone. Who are you chatting with while you were in there? And he's like, I'm not going to show you my phone, my chat. It's, that's mine. And you so back and forth like this whole time. And like, he's angry and she's crying. And it's just like a half an hour. I'm in the car up in the front. And he's like, I don't want the Uber driver to have to hear all of this, all of our business. I don't care. I don't care. It goes on for a half an hour. And so it's just like,
bless your heart, by the way.
Yeah,
bless your heart that you
off.
did not kick them out in the middle of the highway. Just drop them off on Chicago Drive. Like,
yeah, there you go.
drop them off at KFC on Chicago Drive. Yes. I took the ride. I accepted it.
So anyways, the next day I got a $15 tip.
Oh man. And see, and therein lies the best part about our job is that sometimes we put up, actually sometimes we always put up with nonsense, and some people do reward us for our customer service skills. Like
you said, I don't want to talk about politics. I remember what was the movie? Jojo Rabbit, and she said, "No politics at the dinner table. The dinner table is Switzerland. We're all neutral parties here." So that's I adopt this idea. Like, this is Switzerland here. I'm not pro or con. It's just I'm an observer.
And the only time that like I'll say anything is that like if they bring up something and they happen to talk about a candidate that I like or something, and then we can chime together, but like I don't want to start it because I don't want to touch on the sensitivities of the Gen Z we pick up. So
I believe, strong. I have some strong personal beliefs, of course, and many of us do. And I do look for opportunities to be encouraging to people. And I know you've been in the car when you pick up the single girl and she's 20 and she's back in there. She says very little, and I play pretty neutral music in the car. And, a few minutes in, you hear her crying, like she got dumped or she's, something bad is happening in her life right then. And so I'm always looking for, some encouraging word. I know I'm an older dude, so it's one of those, you don't want to be creepy either. But you want to just be something like, hey, you look really nice tonight, or something encouraging to at least end their night on, or, if you overheard something and just go, you're worth it, that kind of stuff, just like I have a daughter, so I would like, I kind of think about it like that.
Right.
And but you have to really watch it though, I think, as a driver. You have to really be careful about what you say.
It's keep it simple.
Yeah.
Keep it neutral. And that's the only thing we can do. And like, and that's the thing is too, is I find it also as a good platform. I mean, because, I've picked up a lot of young, these, I mean, literally last week, I picked up this literally 16-year-old kid who had a kid, and I was just like, I say this to like any people that have kids, I call my kids my equilibrium, right? Like especially when you have young kids, right? Like your day, it doesn't matter. Your day could have gone bad. You could have got fired from your job, but you come home and hold your son or daughter and nothing else matters, right? And so like, I give men free freaking family court advice because I've gone through it. And not that I'm like, some law attorney or family
Sure.
court, but I know quite a bit and I try to like
Sure.
direct them in the right way. And yeah, and the same thing with just positive reinforcement. Like
Yep.
we've all had those like meltdowns in the back, and you're like,
Yeah.
"Hey, are you okay? Like, is there anything I can do to help?" Like,
Yeah.
and even
Exactly.
if they say nothing, I feel like in just a general statement is that
Yeah.
being a good person is free. Okay?
That's so true.
And,
Yeah.
because it doesn't take much because one thing can tear you down, but one nice thing can pull you up.
Mm,
So
so true.
I love that, and I think I hope that other drivers have that same sentiment that
Mhm.
speak English, anyways. But like, but
Yeah, I
just
don't think not everybody does. Not
yeah,
everybody does, Seth, but I think that's a kind word. It's like like you said, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. And we have I almost count it a privilege. I honestly to be there, to be that person sometimes with a kind word or, just it's the bartender, hey,
well,
you're gonna get told stuff that nobody else would be told. That person confides in you
yeah.
something, and then just to be a listening ear, sometimes that's all it takes.
Well, in this generation's so lost. Like,
Yeah.
let's be real. I mean, it's there's I mean, even me at 38, like I remember an era with no one, like not even a clicker for a remote for a TV, but like the no social media era, the no
Sure.
so much influence coming at you 10,000 miles an hour. Like,
Mhm.
it's different now.
It is.
It's, I mean, and honestly, we're kind of getting off even rideshare. We're just kind of getting about life, and that's just okay. But
Yeah.
like, I think sometimes people need to hear it. But like, there's so many different things coming a mile a minute to these kids, and I'll call them kids. I don't care if you can drink, you're still a kid to me. But
Yeah.
like, and so there's so much influence and like you said, I think it's a privilege to drive rideshare. I think
Honestly.
it
Yeah. Yep.
because we hear them at their worst because
Yeah.
a little bit of alcohol just
Yeah.
opens up the floodgates of emotion sometimes and
So
like
true. That's so true. That's
Now
so true.
do I shoot the shit with some guys? Yeah, like, all the
Yeah.
time. I mean, I do crowd work for a living practically because you know, because I
That's
love
a good way.
like, because I so
Well,
my thing is that, okay, so, like, when I get the green flag, when I say green flag, I mean when someone starts making fun of one of their friends in the car, like, I target that person. Like,
sure.
I'm scoping, and so, like, I will just razz them and, like but, like, but the people got on my car and they've already had a good time,
Sure.
and so, like, I that's one thing that I kind of hang my hat on is that, like,
Mhm.
most people that have Uber rides with me, like, especially bar hours, which is what I work,
Yeah.
enjoy the ride because
Yeah.
it's entertaining. You get a
Yeah.
base like, they went to, like, Laugh Fest and
Sure.
didn't laugh, and they get in an Uber with a stranger and they actually laugh, so,
Yeah.
you know, I should be at Laugh Fest Uber edition, but, like
There you go. There you go.
yeah,
There you go.
so
Yeah,
we
that's the fun part. That's the fun, definitely the enjoyable part of it is, I'm at you and I work very similar hours, during the evening, and so yeah, it's bar crowd, and they're looking for fun,
yeah,
so
and
so yeah, and hey, it's
I'm
what do you wanna listen to? And yeah, I
oh, yeah, all
ask,
the
what do you
time.
wanna listen to? And it's, the Tesla has karaoke in it, so you can actually, if you have a long enough, like the trip from downtown, usually this is the college girl trip, right? Or it's birthday, somebody's going out for a birthday, and so then it's like, "Hey, what song do you wanna sing?" And so we'll
If
turn
you
on
like
the car
pina
karaoke, and
coladas,
yeah, it's
ding, ding.
always some sort of Sabrina Carpenter or Taylor Swift
Oh,
or yes, exactly.
yeah,
All
no,
the music era
I
that's not our era.
oh, yeah,
But
no, I got caught into some girls in my car, and they yeah, I got stuck listening to Lotto,
there
and
you go.
it was a terrible experience for me, but I'm glad they had an experience, but as soon as they got out of
Yes.
the car, I changed the music back to what I wanna listen to and got my sanity back, so
That's hilarious.
Some of this music,
That's hilarious.
I don't even understand it, man. Like it's how many ways
Yeah.
can you describe body parts? That's all I'm gonna say. Like
Yeah,
it
and that's the right, that's
like
the you get
I usually listen to country. Like country is usually the, country or some alternative,
mhm.
give me some old school Nickelback, or I mean, if I'm feeling adventurous,
Nickelback.
like
Really?
I dive into like the 70s and 80s,
Sure,
some way back country or some backwoods country,
sure. Sure.
back in the good era.
Back in the good era. I play all different kinds of music, but yeah, when I give them I have a tablet for, I think I said this before, I have Spotify, and so if you have Spotify, what you can do is get just a cheapy tablet that that like for $50, and I think I got one of the Amazon kids tablets, so they're
Yeah.
pretty durable, and then you just put Spotify on that, and then from there you just give it to them. Here you go, we pick your songs. And so that always is fun. That's always
Yeah.
fun.
I usually just give 'em my phone because I already know where I'm
The
going,
kids
so
the kids do that. The kids
yeah.
like they added a thing recently with Uber and Tesla. So the navigation of the car goes to Tesla's navigation system automatically when you hit navigate it, boop, it pops it right into the to
Is that just
the navigation
the
system.
CarPlay or
Kind of. I mean, Tesla has a kind of a closed system for that, but their own little, mapping system. They use like a
yeah,
combination of Google
it's
Maps and stuff like that.
it's probably something accessible, like, on there because, like, for my CarPlay, like, I can add the, the
Tesla
Uber
app
stuff on
or
there,
Uber
like
app.
the
Yeah.
CarPlay and stuff, but, like, I don't really use it just because it's really annoying because, like, my phone will still be going the same,
Uh,
and so it's more of a hindrance than it is anything else,
uh,
but
because I do self-drive, and if I'm really super lazy in the car, I'll just hit self-drive and not do anything. The car will go right to where it's supposed to go, and I
oh,
just have to turn it off.
so then because the Navigate, like, goes from your phone to the Tesla
Yes.
so then it auto drives based off of that.
Yes, exactly. So it will
You're
auto
so
drive.
lazy, you're so
I know.
lazy.
Then
Grab
I
a
can really get
steering
in.
wheel. Grab a
Yes.
steering wheel once in a while.
You have to touch yes.
Steering wheels lives matter, okay?
You have to touch the steering wheel and look at the road. Otherwise, so you're not completely useless. We're not completely obliterated yet by AI, but soon we will be. But I just find it fascinating. Everybody finds it fascinating. Not everybody, but a lot of people find it fascinating to talk about the whole self-driving and hey, does it do this? So like I said, that
But do you find yourself so we have the standardized Uber questions, right? But
Mhm.
how much do you actually have to continually tell the same
Yeah.
story, the same everything about
Yes,
Teslas?
exactly, exactly. So that's the thing actually that's really interesting
Do
because,
you think you should do a
in
recording
my
and then
day
be like,
job, during my day job, I do a lot of sales, and I work with sellers and help coach salespeople, and one of the thing that you learn in sales really quickly is you get your pitch down, you kinda get and you refine the same phrases over and over again, so yes, I have my pitch down about, regenerative braking and how long it takes to, the battery when it's fully charged and how does it drive in the winter and all the questions people are super curious. I wish Uber not Uber but Tesla, gave me a commission. I probably sold 10 cars this
I
already.
mean, I could say the same thing about Spotify, okay? That's
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I mean, I get so many questions because like I said before, as I put my podcast hat right in the beginning, right in the front of my dash, so I always get to talk about that. And
Ah,
and then as soon as I say, "Oh, it's WW," like, I said, "Yeah, but I'm doing this other podcast about rideshare." Like I try to plug us the best I can, just because I actually got the domain rights, so like you don't have to for like my other one, it's like the Lockdown Podcast 1 on YouTube
uh,
versus Rideshare Chaos, so I got the domains to that flex. So
there you
like,
go.
so I took
There you go.
I no, but like legit though, like I have the YouTube, which is Rideshare Chaos. I have TikTok, Instagram, and my email is all Rideshare
Nice.
Chaos. So like
Nice.
I bum rushed even before I even did anything with like as soon as I got the name, I was like dun 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 dun
Mhm.
dun 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 and got all my domains. So
Yeah, there you go. You got it all there. Yeah.
and you know what?
That's
And
it.
I'm still waiting for the email back to the guy that has the Lockdown podcast. Not one, no, just the Lockdown podcast. He hasn't done an episode in legitimately like years. And I'm trying to reach out to tell him to take down his stupid freaking domain
Oh,
so I
man.
can
Yeah.
steal
There
it,
you go.
but he
There you
won't.
go. There you go.
I am still yet to get a
There
reply.
you go. That's
Oh,
wild.
so this is coming into St. Patty's Day weekend.
Yeah.
Um I feel,
It's
so
yeah. The
it's
busiest
what
weekend. One of the
so
busiest weekends last
so
year.
yeah, so what I classify in I feel like the 6 years almost well actually almost 7 actually pretty much 7 years as of like 8 days from now I'll be 7 years of doing this. I can speak to this and so your busiest top 5 and guess what people I hate to bust your bubble cuz I tell people all the time the night before Thanksgiving is not the busiest
Yeah.
bar night of the
No.
week. It is
Mm-mm.
glorified Friday business on a Wednesday. So you can
Yeah.
take that to the bank. So top
Yep.
5. So your top 5, number 5 bad weather.
True.
Number 4 is basically like Cinco de Mayo, St. Patty's Day, Pulaski Days.
Yeah.
Number 3 is Halloween.
Halloween's busy. Yeah.
Number 2 is Breakaway Festival weekend, which I made 920 in 2 days, so that's why it sits that number
Holy
2.
schmoly. Yeah, I
And
was gone that
and
weekend, so
number
I
1
couldn't.
is obviously New Year's Eve. So
Yeah, New Year's
those
is. Yeah.
those are the top 5
Yeah.
and
Number 6 close by has gotta be, last year was Trump, when Trump was in town. That was a busy weekend,
oh, that
or that
was
was in the
that
middle
was
of the week.
yeah,
That,
and
like,
then
surge downtown was, like,
yeah.
$30.
Well, and when frickin' Kamala was staying at the Marriott, I had to go through security checkpoints twice in a matter of 20 minutes. I had to
Mm,
go I literally had to go by the, courtyard side, and I had to go through they had this whole tent set up, and I had to go in there, turn my car off, take the keys out, pop the hood of my car, had a dog jump in my back seat, like,
Okey dokey.
asking me about
Yeah,
where these wires are going to, and I'm like, "Underglow, do you see it?"
yeah.
Um, and all these questions, and then, like, I literally went and picked someone up. I literally so they I went there, I brought them to, Amway. They didn't even go to the actual, um, Marriott, but,
Sure.
and then I turned around and went and left there, and then went and picked someone up, and then brought someone there again. So I had to go to the checkpoint literally
The
back to
whole
back, and I was like, "Dude,
checkpoint
I was here
again.
5 minutes ago, dude." I'm like, "What has changed?" And he's like, "Oh, we're just doing our job." It was insane.
Yeah.
Like, it was a madhouse, and,
Were
like,
those good, fares, though?
I mean, they were okay. I mean, I
Okay.
didn't really see too much of a spike. Um, and then I know that Waltz was there, at by the Children's Museum or whatever, and
Mhm,
they had a
mhm.
whole freaking it was like whole motorcade, dude. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then
Oh, yeah.
Trump comes and they really didn't do anything. Bro just walks up and he's like, "Well, you missed me twice, so." But like,
Yeah, yeah, I just
and
remember dropping a whole boatload of people off, um, that it was like wasn't like a Tuesday or something. Well, he was here twice in town, and so
yeah,
one was like a Tuesday, like a random Tuesday, but and I think that's what shot the rates up really high
yeah. I mean,
because there's just not enough drivers on a Tuesday night, to cover that
y-
many people, so the rates
yeah,
just went through the roof.
yeah. And well, and the thing is too is like just because like people are the myth okay, so myth bust number 1 here is that just because there's a big concert at Van Andel doesn't mean I
Yeah,
churn up money from it.
yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
it's
Yep.
just if it's busy downtown, then we're just busy
Mhm.
and that's what it is. And
Yeah.
I use the term steady. I don't like using busy. Like I feel like we're always
Yeah.
nice and steady. Like busy is for like bars and restaurants and when you have a lot coming in at once.
Yeah.
Like we're just nice and steady as long as we're going from ride to ride. Like I'm groovy. I'm going. Like
Yeah.
as long as my miles are making money, I'm having a good night.
You're just
So
churning it out.
yeah.
Just
So
clocking in, man. You're just clocking in.
and honestly though, like I enjoy it. Like I know
Yeah.
I've driven by other drivers and like they're
Mhm.
sitting in their car and they're just like they like it looks like they just hate doing it.
Yes,
And
exactly.
and
Well,
and
yeah.
PSA for Uber drivers or Lyft drivers, if you don't like it, don't do it. Okay?
Yeah.
Like
So
you're
true.
like because I hear the stories all the time from dirty cars or smelly drivers
Yeah.
or all
Yep.
this nonsense or like playing ridiculously loud music because I've had
Yeah.
that where I've gotten
Yeah.
into an Uber and this guy is blaring rap music and F this and N this. And I'm just like, man, like
No. Thank you.
try to
Yeah.
have some decorum. Realize that yes,
Yeah.
you are your own boss, but like don't run your house like you or don't run your car like you run your house, okay?
Sure.
Like these are strangers getting into your car. Like it's just have some degree of professionalism.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. So I have a list of tips, and so
ooh.
I let me ask you as
Tip time.
I'll ask you, and this is from Ridester. This is Ridester 23 tips, creative ways to, kind of run your Uber job. So one of them is oh, this was interesting. Um, the whole incentives and being kind of leverage Uber incentives. So, when you're driving, are you really paying attention to that? Or you're just like, hey, this is the time I scheduled to drive and I'm driving there, whether it's an incentive. Do those incentives like push you to drive?
So the weekday ones are nonsense. This last weekend was nonsense. So like
Yeah.
during the week, because they have like the Monday through Thursday or whatever.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
But obviously, like they set those bars pretty high, and
Yeah.
they're almost for regular drivers because they set like a 400 and a 500 level tier or whatever. But the bonus is never
Yeah.
fitting to even be worried about that. And then
Yeah.
like last weekend, they set the bar to like 450 to get 50
Yeah.
bucks or whatever. But I'm just like, whatever happened to just rides, make money, get bonus
Yes.
off rides,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
money. And the thing is and then
Yeah.
they don't even let it be the money that you're making in total. It's the money off the rides. So
Yeah.
tips and rideshare bonuses, they do not factor into that number.
Yeah.
So it's like no one's gonna make just a flat $450 in
Yeah.
2 days. So it's a dumb incentive.
Yeah.
I wish they would go back to rides because I enjoyed trying to hit that 35th,
Yeah.
doing like
Okay.
35 and 35 rides, it was
Yeah.
like I think it was like it would go from like 40 to 50 and 50 to 60 or 60 to 70 rides,
Yeah.
whatever, and you could pick your tier and you'd have a bonus based on that, which
Yeah.
I mean, I lost probably from last year and the year before. I think I made 20,000 less dollars. Like that's because
Sure.
the bonuses.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, and not that I like those. I mean, actually, I'm actually okay with not having those bonuses. I haven't filed my taxes yet, so I'm gonna see how that pans out. But
Yeah.
like, you also pay a crap ton more taxes on all those extra money. So now, yeah. So
Yeah. It's
that,
interesting.
and I don't know how they're gonna
Interesting.
work out since
Sure.
current president basically is getting rid of the tax on tips. So I'm hoping that when we get an NAC next year, it will not be as high
Yeah, it won't be as high. Yeah.
because the non-employee compensation is basically your tips. So,
Yeah.
which usually mine is in the realm of like 3-4 grand. So, well, if I
Yeah.
count incentives plus that, it's usually it's 3 to 5 grand. And so if I'm
Nice.
knocking that down to like a grand worth of stuff, then I'm not going to feel so bad about it. But
Yeah.
because it's just like, yeah, we sit there and work hard, we pay taxes, but when we pay taxes on our tips too, like, yeah, we might get the tips, the 100% of the tips, but then we also have to pay taxes on those. So
Yeah,
I'm glad
taxes.
that El current presidente is getting rid of that.
Yeah,
So
wants to get rid of
hopefully this
tip
year
tax.
we'll,
Yeah,
you
that'll be
know,
interesting.
see how much less we are, but not talking politics, just
All right, got
but
another question.
all right, bring it on.
Here's another one. And understanding the business part of this. Stay in the city. Don't drive out. Like, don't take a trip out to Conklin.
Oh yeah, I already do that. So next
Is that's
question.
pretty much if the destination is out in Coopersville? Well, let's see. What would be a good example? Like I get,
Allendale.
yeah, Allendale. Like there's Allendale and Belmont, like area. Those are the two probably that you get the most, I think, around town. But every once in a while, you get a Sparta trip. So you're saying turn those down. Don't do those. You're rejecting that
Well,
because you're deadheading basically back
so
into town.
it depends on what time of the night.
Oh,
So okay, so for me, like at like 1:30 is when I kind of go balls to the wall, right? But it has to be worth my while. I don't go to
sure.
Allendale I don't go for Allendale for anything less than $25.
Okay.
Period. And yeah, I can get rides while I'm out there, so I always end up making, $40 in an hour.
It's pretty funny, isn't it?
I don't go out there for under $25. So
It's yeah, Grand Valley State or any university is pretty interesting. Like I found that really fascinating because Grand Valley, the way that it is set up is a large population lives basically across the freeway. And so if it's at like 2 in the morning or 1 in the morning and somebody wants to go to the, party store, that is dangerous. Like it's a hike, for some, like it's a mile for it's a 25 minute, and if the weather's not so hot. So yeah, you can get these like 2 mile rides for like $10 there, and that's all it is you just drive back
well,
people
yeah,
to the
but
party
then
store from one party to the next.
and then eventually after let's say I've churned up like 2 or 3 rides,
Uh-huh.
made maybe $15 or something, like, then I just go offline and I dip, like,
Yeah,
but,
just go out. Yeah,
you
go
know,
back.
just
Go back.
because like the like, basically, I wanna be downtown,
Yes.
like, between 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
That's where I wanna basically get to at that period, but, like I
sure.
said,
Yep.
1:30, it's gotta be about 1:30, and like I said, I don't go for anything under $25, so but go on.
Navigate surge pricing. So that's what you're doing. You're talking really about that whole there's a couple
So,
different apps that can help. Do you use any apps to help with that? Like, or do you
no.
we just kind of know we can look. We can
I
look in the
I
app and kind of
mean,
see where the surge pricing is.
well, the surge pricing is a non-factor, though. Like, it honestly really is because, like, it'll show this X amount of rate, and then the ride might not be in that section. So, really, like,
Right.
if it's just surging everywhere and there's little bits of extra money everywhere, then I'll take whatever, because you're not always gonna get a ride in that quadrant for a decent amount of money. So, I mean,
That's very true.
now because even with, like, how they have those things, now, like, in certain areas, it'll be like, "Oh, an extra, like, $5 a ride," or whatever else, and, like, honestly, a lot of that I don't even really pay attention to, like, I honestly for me, it's about where I'm going to get them and where they're going, like, so really money is sometimes I'll take some $3 quick rides, sometimes I'll decline them. It just
Sure.
depends, but, like, I'm still making 500 plus a weekend, so, like,
Sure.
I think I got it pretty much figured out,
Sure.
so
How
but
about
next
amenities? Do you do anything with like are you doing anything with like water bottles or anything like that?
so I always thought
Did
under
you
the
ever try
like,
that?
for me, I think that's weird. Now, and this is the one thing why I say that it is weird is because, like, there's weirdos out there, right? Like, someone could lace some girl's water bottle and,
That's
and all
fair.
that nonsense, and so, like, if someone wants to stop at a liquor store or something or a gas station, I got no problem as long as it's on the way.
Sure.
But, like, I mean, the only amenities I really have, I mean, essentially is, like, I have chargers.
Mm,
I
that's a good
have
one.
I have the heated seats in back just because obviously the
Yep.
weather sucks. I got cool LEDs.
Yep.
Really, like I said, if they wanna stop somewhere, then I'm fine with that, but
How are you? How about mileage tracking? How are you? You're doing per mile, right? And in your deductibles, you're doing
yeah,
a
so
IRS.
they
How are
keep
you
track of your
keeping track
miles
of?
for you. They keep track of them for you. So,
Sure.
they keep track of your online miles. So, anytime that you are like the to and from rides, they all track that for you. I it would be too much to like depict, oh, I drove 20 nonsense miles tonight or something like,
Sure.
and then they increased it. So last year or the year before they had increased. It was during the gas hike prize or hike situation, and
Mhm.
it used to be 53 cents. Now I think it's like, or it might have been like 57, 58 cents a mile. Now it's, and then they raised it the second half of the year to roughly 64 cents a mile.
Mhm.
And so
Yep,
then,
I think
and then
so too.
last year
Yep,
they left it at that flat price. So
yep. 64 cents a mile. I use QuickBooks. So QuickBooks Self-Employed has a which is where I keep, track of all my expenses anyways and all my insurance stuff and whatnot for this business. So the mobile app has a mileage tracker in it. And you just, in fact, it automatically tracks your miles when you have it on your phone. Because, oh, you're driving, and then it just tracks it. And then at the end of the week, you can go in and go, oh yeah, that was an Uber drive, that was a personal drive. And then it's surprising actually that delta between what Uber tracks, like you said, is that Uber tracks your hours, but like, hey, I have to drive to like the first spot, that doesn't count sometimes. Or if I'm
so
driving to the charger
so
to charge my car up, or between spots,
so
if I
they
go
do
offline.
so basically they keep track of your the miles that you're online in its entirety.
Mm, okay.
Um and so because I think my online miles last year I think was in the realm of I think 29,000 or something like that.
Mhm.
Um cuz I said online miles last year was 22,450 and I did roughly 4,200 trips last year, made just over 37,000. So, um, I'm fine with that number.
Mm,
Um, honestly, yes. Could it be more? Yes. But the fact is that I write off more because I 1099. I write off my medical insurance, my cell phone,
right.
Spotify, XM, all this
Mhm.
stuff on top of it. So, like,
Yeah,
because I'm 1099, even though I have a day job, like I have a job, I just, but I
yeah,
also do Uber. And so, like, but because I do Uber, I can
yeah,
claim a portion of all that stuff. So I think
yeah, yeah,
my stuff balances out just fine. So,
yeah. I've set mine up as an LLC. So because I have other side income, side hustle stuff that I've done. So I've just set up an LLC, which is really easy to do. So like you say, you're pulling it in all it's taxed the same way. There's some liability benefits, I think, with LLC, but yeah. Well, that's great. Those are excellent tips, thinking about, from a driver standpoint that,
yeah.
sometimes they give you all these incentives, but sometimes they don't quite match up. Like there's a reason I always in sales, you always say, there's a reason why it's on sale. Well, honey, it was only $47. Yeah, there's a reason why it was on sale. And you look at it that way, there's a reason why they're putting those incentives in there.
Yeah.
Like,
And it's a nice thing to like, and it's a good concept, but honestly, like, with the exception of last week, the week before that, 802, the week before that, 824, the week before that, almost a grand. I'm like, I have a couple, small weeks in there, but for the most part, I'm making over 800 bucks a week. And
yeah,
so, like, for me, like, what I make it basically overshadows me really nickeling diming the system and how everything is set up, you know,
Yep.
because a lot of
Yep.
times drivers are concerned about, well, they paid this and you make this. And I'm like, okay, but
Yeah.
like people buy a pizza for 20 bucks and it costs 10 cents to make. I mean, like,
Yeah.
you could pick apart everything, but you drive yourself nuts.
Right. Right. Right.
So
Right.
for me, like, I worry about what I make, not what they take, because I'm not trying to drive myself stir crazy because I know the numbers, and it's
Yeah.
usually like 60, 40, 35,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
so 60, 40 is a pretty good, pretty good average of how it pans out, and so, like, I'm still making money. Like, that's the
Sure.
thing is that, like, if I'm making $1,000 in a week on top of my day job, which another $500, so, like, I'm making $1,500 a week, dude. I'm not sneezing at anything about, "Oh, they take this and they take that," and, then you just become a pissy person to be around, like, because like, my dad drives Uber, and I love my dad dearly, but, like, there's an X in the corner for a reason because he only drives, like, every so often, like, he's
Sure.
not shooting for a degree or anything, like,
Sure.
but, I mean, he does a fishing ministry and stuff like that, works with some local
Yeah.
youth camps and stuff like that, and does
Yeah.
fishing and stuff like that, um
Oh, that
like,
sounds
he's
fun.
not worried about the extra stuff, so, like, he just goes out whenever he wants, and he only does, like, Fridays and Saturdays or just one or the
Mhm.
other. So it's just extra money. They're retired. They're in Florida right now.
Nice.
They'll be back here in a couple months, and
Yeah, it's interesting talking to different drivers that are in different parts of the country. So some markets are just killer to be driving in, where it's like, yeah, we don't have that. I was talking to somebody who drove from Salt Lake City, and they're doing 10 rides a day at 150 to 200 rides a day per ride because they're driving from the airport up to 120 100 miles away or so up to
yeah,
one of the resorts to drop
yeah,
people off. And so they get paid really well for those. There's not enough drivers out there during
yeah,
especially during peak
and
season.
that's the thing is too is that it's supply and demand. Like,
Yeah.
even though, like, I mean, when I first started rideshare, and again, this is 2018. Like, it was a basically take everything because that's how it was. There was a lot of drivers out, and then obviously COVID happened, and it kind of undersaturated the market of drivers. The people that were at home because of COVID, they went out and drove, and then once
Hmm.
things got cleared
Hmm.
up, then they went back to their job, and then the rest of us that got unemployment went back to doing Uber, but not everybody came back.
Sure.
So, I mean, I'd say we're probably at maybe 70% back to normal.
Yeah.
And so, like, the numbers are still pretty the same. Obviously, like, the small per ride incentives are there, and, some, like, the let's just say that the bonus hour stuff, or, the surging spots, that basically is more important than trying to get to 450 to get an extra 50 bucks. Um, so, I mean, per ride is I'm more concerned about than I am like, "Oh, I gotta make 450 bucks just to get an extra 50 bucks," and I'm like, "Well, I ain't gonna make 450 bucks."
Sure.
Not how they do numbers. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean,
Very
it's
true.
fun though. I mean, like, like, it's a job to me, but it's not a job to me, Like,
Sure.
it's fun. I mean, and so coming up on St. Patty's Day, so
Yeah, there you
I
go.
I
What are you doing to get ready for St. Patty's Day?
so my lights in my car will be
Green. Yeah.
syncing between green, white, and orange.
Okay.
I will have my LED Uber Seth will probably be green and white. So look for the green and white Uber Seth.
Sure.
Um, and I'll dress myself to the nines, and
Will you have a little
but
bowler hat, like a little
a little
shillelagh,
Bobby hat.
a little
Well,
little bowler hat?
I actually do have a bunch of newsboy hats, so I
Oh, there
I
you go.
will have a bit of
Little
rep in my hat.
let's just go there you go.
But
Little Tamil Shanter or something.
Irish people, genuine Irish people are my favorite riders because they talk in the cliche accent.
Sure.
And it blows my mind because like they're just talking and like
Sure.
we're taking it in because we're like all the stereotypes. Oh my gosh, they're true. And so like they're delightful though. So
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have a lot of rides to O'Toole's
oh
and
gosh.
you
In
know,
Dublin and
Dublin. Well, down the Dubliner. The so Ottawa, or is it Ottawa? No, what is it?
so
Ionia will be
they're doing it
closed
on
off
they're doing it
completely.
at well no they're not doing so they're doing it at Calder Plaza.
Oh,
So they got rid of that. So now it is what I like to call Irish on Ottawa, Irish on the Calder, whatever you call it. So they're doing it there, which honestly they could block off that section of Ottawa and it would not affect us one bit. Like at all. There's nothing
yeah.
there. It's literally a courthouse, the city clerk's Calder, like whatever record, public records, and then a Chase monstrosity. That's all that's there. There's no bars there. They could literally, and I don't even know if they're doing it on the street or they're just doing it at Calder Plaza, which I think they said Calder Plaza, but they could also have like food trucks or something down there. But
Yeah, that's true. They did. They moved it. So yeah, that's a $25 a head on Saturday. But I gotta believe the Ionia
so,
Street area will still be busy, really big.
so I think the thing starts at like noon, I think. So
Yep, 11 to 9.
I'm gonna do a split shift. So I'm gonna go and drive from like probably noon, to like 4. Um, take a couple hour break, go home, or just go park and watch some Netflix or something, and
Sure.
then jump back at it at about 7, and then do 7 to 3 in the
Yeah,
morning.
I think that's when it's gonna be hopping. Once that closes down, everybody's gonna wanna go, to other parts of town.
Using the old Nagaruski.
Yeah. So
I
smart.
mean, and that's the thing too is that like, yes, like not every concert event makes you money, but like to like mildly keep your ear to the ground is my tip. Like
Yeah, that's
now,
true.
I drive the days I drive and I don't drive the days I don't drive. So I'm gonna be very clear about that. So I don't care if there's some big thing on a Monday or Tuesday, but if I can get out a little bit earlier on certain events, to like with like Irish on Ionia or on the Calder, like
Mhm.
I'm gonna go out earlier because I know full well we're gonna be bum rushing to that. So,
Yeah. Yeah, they'll
but
all be busy. Oh, they'll all be busy this weekend. We have butterflies are blooming out at the Meyer Garden. There's
unless
a
unless
Lego.
unless they're drinking and they're getting drunk off butterflies, I like that stuff I could give two shits because like like it's like when you have the family events at Van Andel, you're like, oh, are you busy because of this? I'm like, unless
No,
these dads are getting swashbuckled, like
yes.
it does nothing for me. So if they're not drinking, the
Yeah.
event does nothing for me. But
Now, here's one for you. This is hilarious. This is because I have a little joke to go with this. There's Suds and Salami, St. Patrick's Charcuterie at the Spruced Studio. There, it's an $85 event that is combined with St. Patrick's Day. It's happening on Saturday at 6 to 8.
the
And
fact
it's a
that you said that it with like you said the whole thing without a hiccup, like
Suds and Salami, but it's charcuterie. And so this is the thing you find out charcuterie. Now, I didn't grow up with Lunchables. My kids had Lunchables, but charcuterie is really Lunchables for adults. That's what that's my theory. That's why it's so popular
I'm
now.
gonna use that. I'm gonna use that this weekend. Okay, I'm
Yeah,
like,
there you go.
man,
The charcuterie is just Lunchable
charcuterie.
for adults. So
Oh man.
that's why it's so popular. That's why it's all the
You said you had a joke to go with this though. So
Well,
like,
no,
let's.
that's the joke. That's the joke.
Oh,
Charcuterie is Lunchables for adults. That's why it's That's my joke. That's my big
All
joke.
right. Well, I will put a pin in this.
All right.
We'll see. Well, you know what? Episode 2 in the books.
In the books.
So this is the Rideshare Chaos Podcast. Peace.